My name is Rachel. I'm 34 years old, and this is how I took revenge on the sister who stole the name. I was saving for my unborn daughter. I'm sitting in the nursery right now. It's soft and still, painted in warm creams and blush pinks. The kind of room that's meant to hold lullabies and quiet breathing and tiny, clumsy feet. The crib is empty. The mobile turns slowly above it, pale stars and moons spinning in silence. Around me, unopened baby gifts sit stacked in pastel bags, ribbons untouched, tissue paper undisturbed. It should have been her room. It was hers. 2 weeks ago, my sister Melanie gave birth to a baby boy. That should have been a happy moment. It should have been the kind of news that makes the whole family group chat light up. But instead, my phone buzzed with a photo and a caption that made my blood go cold. Welcome to the world, Leela Grace. Leela Grace. I stared at it like it wasn't real, like the name would change if I blinked hard enough. But there it was, in bold pink script on a custom onesie, right across the chest of my nephew. That name wasn't random. That name wasn't just pretty or sweet. That name was mine. I chose it 5 years ago. The night I found out I was pregnant for the first time. I held onto it through to devastating losses. I whispered it through sobs on the bathroom floor. I told Melanie about it after my second miscarriage, when I could barely speak. When she was the only person I trusted enough to say it out loud. 2. She swore. She'd never use it. And now, it belonged to her son. I don't think she thought I'd fight back. I don't think she expected anything beyond some awkward tension. Maybe a family cold war. Maybe some whispered insults passed through our mother. But I didn't fall apart. I didn't beg or yell or disappeared. Instead, I called my lawyer. Growing up, I was always second to Melanie, not just in age, but in everything. She was the golden child, the one who sparkled in every room, the cheerleader, the homecoming queen, the one our mother bragged about in grocery store checkout lines. I was the quiet one, the bookworm. The wise beyond her years kid who never caused trouble because, honestly, no one expected me to. Melanie had drama, boyfriends, pageants. I had library cards and journals filled with scribbled poems. We were close once, before boys, before competition, before our parents started drawing lines between us that neither of us could fully erase. By the time we were in our 20s, the cracks between us had grown into canyons. Melanie stayed local, kept up the image, married a guy just like our dad. Charming, loud, unreliable. I moved states away and married Ben. Kind, quiet Ben, the first person who made me feel truly safe. He wasn't flashy. He didn't come with a big personality or family expectations. He just held space for me, and I needed that more than I ever realized. But even in that peace, we had our own storms. We wanted kids, badly, but the universe didn't cooperate. I lost 2 pregnancies in 3 years, quietly, privately. I didn't even tell my mother. Melanie, she knew the first time, and she barely said anything. The second time, I stopped trying to involve her. She lived in a world of Instagram perfect motherhood and decorative bump photo shoots. My pain didn't fit her aesthetic. Then, after 5 years of heartbreak, the miracle happened. I got pregnant again. This one held. Every week felt like a thread I was scared to tug, like I was walking barefoot across glass toward hope. I told no one except Ben and Melanie. We were at her house. I still remember it. The wine had flowed. She made me laugh, really laugh. For the first time in months, and in a moment of softness, I told her the name. Leela Grace. Leela was a name that came to me in grief. It showed up in a journal entry I'd written days after my first loss. I didn't even realize I'd written it until I found it later, circled in ink. Grace was for our grandmother, the one person in our family who made both Melanie and me feel unconditionally loved. That name wasn't trendy or pulled off Pinterest. It was mine. It was my baby's name, her identity, her legacy. Melanie had looked at me and smiled. "It's beautiful," she said. And in that moment, I believed she understood. I believed, for the first time in years, that the sister I loved might still be in there somewhere. The weeks that followed were the happiest I can remember. I walked through Target's baby section and let myself drift, hand grazing the edge of tiny onesies. I whispered Leela under my breath when I washed dishes. When I woke up in the morning, when I laid a hand on my growing belly at night, I bought a journal to write letters to her. I started nesting, slowly, carefully, like building a shrine to someone I hadn't met yet but loved more than anything in the world. Then everything changed. And it wasn't a car crash. It wasn't a diagnosis. It wasn't even a loss. Not the kind people recognize. It was a betrayal. A quiet, smiling, well-lit betrayal wrapped in a pink birth announcement. Melanie stole the name. She named her son Leela Grace. And just like that, everything I'd held sacred, everything I'd entrusted to her, was gone. 3 months before my due date, Melanie announced she was pregnant. No warning. Just a perfectly curated photo of her holding up a positive test, grinning next to her boyfriend. The same guy she'd broken up with 2 months prior after one of their dramatic fights. Now, they were back together, and expecting. The caption read like something out of a Hallmark card. Life always finds a way. I wanted to be happy for her. I really did. I sent a simple, cautious congratulations. But something about the way she replied unsettled me. There was a tone in her voice. The same one she used in high school when she scored higher than me on something she hadn't studied for. That smug undercurrent that made you feel like you just lost a game you didn't even know you were playing. At first, I told myself I was being paranoid, hormonal, sensitive. But the feeling didn't go away. Her baby shower came fast. She hired a party planner, rented out a venue, posted every step of the planning process online like it was an influencer campaign. Meanwhile, I was waddling through my 3rd trimester, throwing up water, and trying to keep my blood pressure down. I hadn't even had my own baby shower yet. I showed up to hers in a simple dress, swollen ankles, quietly excited to support her. But the moment I walked in, I felt it. The shift. People barely acknowledged me. I sat on a couch while Melanie stood center stage, posing with gifts and decorations, bathed in that golden light she always seemed to find. I watched her laugh with our cousins, accept compliments, bask in it. No one asked how I was feeling. No one even looked at my belly. It was as if her news had somehow erased mine. I kept telling myself it didn't matter, that none of this would matter once I held my daughter. Once I finally met Leela Grace, and then it happened. I was making tea one morning when my phone buzzed. It was Instagram. I opened it casually, scrolling past the usual posts, until I saw Melanie's update, the photo of a newborn, swaddled in pink, captioned in glittery font, "Welcome to the world. Leela Grace, our hearts are full." I dropped my mug. At first, I thought I was reading it wrong. I blinked. I refreshed the page. I read it again and again. My breath caught in my throat. I sat down, trembling, reading that name over and over. Like maybe if I stared at it long enough, it would morph into something else. But it didn't. She did it. She took it. I texted her. You named her Leela Grace. Seriously. No reply. I texted. Again. Nothing. My heart was pounding so hard I couldn't hear straight. Ben came rushing in when he saw my face. I couldn't speak. I just handed him the phone. His eyes darkened. She didn't. I couldn't breathe. I felt my chest tighten like someone had reached in and pulled something vital out of me. I was gasping, crying without sound, my hands shaking uncontrollably. Ben held me through it, whispering, "Breathe, baby. You're okay. Just breathe." But I wasn't okay. It wasn't just the name. It was what the name asterisk meant asterisk. It was the whisper I'd used every time I talked to my baby. The name I'd written in letters. The name I'd embroidered on a tiny blanket I hadn't even shown anyone yet. It was the soul of the little girl I hadn't met, but loved more deeply than anyone could understand. I tried calling. Melanie picked up on the third ring, sounding like she was putting on lip gloss. "You saw the post," she said, flatly. I couldn't even form words. You named her asterisk the asterisk. After everything? I loved the name, she said, breezy and unapologetic. And you don't own it, Rachel. It's just a name. Just a name. That was when something in me snapped. Because it wasn't asterisk, just asterisk a name. It was all I had. It was the single thread tying me to my baby, to my losses, to my healing. And Melanie had cut it without blinking. It wasn't just betrayal. It was erasure. She didn't just steal a name. She stole the story behind it. The grief, the love, the sacred. She repackaged it as hers, slapped it on a birth announcement, and acted like I was the one being dramatic. That's when I knew. She'd made it personal, and now, so would I. The days after Melanie's announcement felt like wading through molasses. Rachel couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't even say the name aloud. Every time someone said Leela, she felt her body go rigid. It was like a reflex. Grief and rage tangled together in her chest, choking her from the inside out. She tried to talk to her mom about it, hoping, asterisk praying asterisk, for some kind of validation. But instead, she got the usual. A shrug, a sigh, and that same clipped tone she'd used since Rachel was 12. "It's just a name, Rachel. You're going to be a mother. Be the bigger person." Rachel blinked. "You're serious? Melanie, didn't asterisk know asterisk it meant that much to you?" She asterisk did asterisk. I told her. After my miscarriage. Her mom paused, then looked down at her coffee. "Well, maybe you shouldn't have shared it if it was that private." The word stung. Rachel stood there, stunned, waiting for something that never came. An apology, a hint of regret, but nothing. Just that same look, the one that always meant. Asterisk, why are you making things difficult? Asterisk, even her friends, the ones she thought might understand, gave her that same half-empathetic tone. "That sucks," they'd say. But honestly, it's not worth the drama. Just let it go. Let it go. They didn't get it. It wasn't about being petty. It wasn't about ownership. It was about asterisk meaning asterisk. About trust. About a sacred thing being ripped from her hands and thrown into someone else's spotlight. Every baby gift with Leela scripted across it felt like a slap. The wooden block letters. The embroidered burp cloths. The floral swaddle blanket with cursive initials. Rachel couldn't look at them without feeling nauseous. She started stuffing them into a closet. Then, eventually, she stopped opening packages altogether. She considered changing the name. Briefly, she stared at other names for hours. Eloise, Nora, Celeste. None of them felt right. They were beautiful, but they weren't hers. They weren't. The name she whispered after her second miscarriage. The name she clutched like a lifeline during her ultrasounds. Changing the name felt like giving in. One night, Rachel sat on the nursery floor, back against the crib, tears streaming silently down her face. Ben came in, sat beside her, and held her hand without saying a word. After a while, he whispered, "Do what feels right, but don't let her steal your peace." That line stayed with her the next day. Rachel called a therapist. At first, all she could do was vent. The hurt, the disbelief, the unfairness of it all. It poured out in jagged fragments. But over time, as the weeks passed, her therapist began gently tugging at deeper threads. Why had she told Melanie the name in the first place? Why did her sister's approval always seem to carry so much weight? And that's when it hit her. Rachel had spent her entire life shrinking herself to make space for Melanie. She'd made herself easy, quiet, non-confrontational. She let things go, bit her tongue, chosen the peaceful path over and over. Even when it hurt her, even when it made her invisible. She was so used to fading into the background that it didn't occur to her to fight. But now, she was about to raise a daughter, and she couldn't bear the thought of that little girl growing up watching her mother stay silent. She needed to stand up, not just for the name, but for herself. That's when she remembered the idea she'd had months ago, back when she was still journaling late at night, dreaming about her future with Leela. She'd filed an silenced or overwritten, not by her sister, not by anyone in the weeks that followed. Rachel's life changed in quiet, beautiful ways. Her blog expanded. What started as one woman's account of motherhood and betrayal transformed into a platform for thousands. She wrote openly about shame, about setting boundaries with family, about the quiet rage of being underestimated. She was honest, raw, and people responded. Women in every corner of the country, some in the thick of postpartum fog, others, grappling with childhood wounds, found solace in her words. She was invited to speak at women's retreats and parenting panels. Her words were quoted in articles, shared in forums, etched onto coffee mugs. You don't have to make yourself small just to keep the peace. That became a mantra, a movement. Through it all, Ben was there, folding tiny onesies, cooking dinner during Rachel's late-night writing sprints, rocking Leela to sleep while Rachel spoke on live streams to rooms full of strangers who felt like sisters. Their home was warm and safe, filled with intentional love, the kind Rachel had always dreamed of giving her child. She never tried to fix things with Melanie. That door stayed closed, and surprisingly, that was the healing. For the first time in her life, Rachel stopped reaching for someone who only knew how to take. There were no confrontations, no screaming matches, just silence, a boundary held with grace. And Rachel didn't feel guilt. She felt light. She had spent decades shrinking, biting her tongue, making room for others. Now, every time she looked at Leela, she was reminded of the promise she made, to never live that way again. Her daughter would grow up knowing her name was sacred. And her mother? She would make damn sure no one ever stole that power again. Rachel sits in her daughter's room again, The same pastel walls. The same slow-turning mobile casting soft shadows across the ceiling. But everything feels different now. The silence is no longer heavy. It's peaceful. Leela sleeps soundly in her crib, her tiny chest rising and falling beneath a lavender blanket. Her fingers curled like she's still holding on to something from a dream. Rachel watches her for a long time, memorizing every detail. She speaks softly, almost to herself. You'll hear people say forgiveness is the only way to heal. That letting go means moving on. But sometimes her voice catches, but she steadies it. Sometimes the real healing comes when you finally stand up and say, "That was wrong, and I'm not letting it happen again." She brushes a hand over Lila's dark curls, featherlight. Her daughter stirs but doesn't wake. I don't care if it's just a name. For me, it was a line in the sand. It was about showing you, showing me that we don't have to stay quiet to keep the peace. That some things are worth protecting, even when no one else understands. She leans back slightly, her eyes shimmering, but calm, strong. Then she looks into the camera, into us. And the day I crossed that line was the day I became a mother.